Hello, dear brothers and sisters. The Bible is an inexhaustible source of wisdom, history, and revelations that draw us closer to God. But did you know it also contains references to practices that might surprise us today? In our video today, we're going to explore an intriguing topic: the use of psychoactive substances in biblical antiquity. Did our biblical ancestors use drugs? And how do these practices align with the teachings of our faith? Stay with us until the end to discover how these findings can deepen our understanding of the scriptures and our spiritual lives. The discovery in Tel Arad, Israel, is one of the most notable when it comes to the presence of drugs in biblical contexts. Located in the Negev desert, Tel Arad is home to an ancient temple complex dating back to the Old Testament period. During archaeological excavations, researchers found traces of cannabis on altars used for worship. These altars, dating back to the 8th century BCE, indicate a worship practice that blended elements of Jewish and Canaanite traditions. The altars in Tel Arad reveal a syncretic religious practice. Religious syncretism is the process by which different religious traditions merge, resulting in new practices and beliefs. In the case of Tel Arad, Canaanite elements, including the use of hallucinogenic substances like cannabis, were incorporated into Jewish practices. The presence of cannabis on the altars suggests that these substances were used to induce altered states of consciousness during worship rituals. This offers a fascinating perspective on how ancient Israelites might have experienced spirituality. Chemical analysis of the residues found on the altars confirmed the presence of tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, the main psychoactive compound in cannabis. This discovery is significant because it provides concrete evidence that psychoactive substances were used in religious rituals, not just for recreational or medicinal purposes. The integration of Canaanite practices into Jewish worship in Tel Arad indicates a complex and multifaceted cultural interaction between the Israelites and their neighbors. Additionally, this discovery in Tel Arad contributes to the understanding of how religious practices evolved over time. The use of hallucinogenic substances in religious contexts was not uncommon in many ancient cultures, and the presence of cannabis on Israelite altars shows that the Israelites were no exception. However, the Bible makes a clear distinction between practices that induce intoxication and those that promote mental sobriety, emphasizing the importance of the latter for genuine and profound worship. In summary, the discovery in Tel Arad offers a rich and detailed insight into religious practices in ancient Israel, highlighting how elements from different cultures were blended, resulting in unique and complex rituals. The poppy plant, Papaver somniferum, widely known for its hallucinogenic properties, played a significant role in ancient cultures, including those of the Israelites and their neighbors. Cultivated primarily for its seeds and the latex it exudes, the poppy was the source of opium, a substance with powerful medicinal and psychotropic properties. The use of opium dates back thousands of years and served various roles, from medicine to religious rituals. In ancient Mesopotamia, the poppy was called the plant of joy, and its cultivation was widespread. Opium, derived from the dried sap of the poppy capsules, was frequently used to relieve pain, induce sleep, and treat various medical conditions. Additionally, opium played a crucial role in religious and spiritual rituals, being used to induce altered states of consciousness and facilitate communication with the divine. Cypriot culture, in particular, was notable for the opium trade. Archaeologists have found jars specifically designed to store and transport opium, known as base ring jars. These jars, often decorated with images of the poppy flower, evidence the importance and value of opium in antiquity. The export of opium from Cyprus to other regions of the Mediterranean is well documented, indicating a robust trade and demand for this substance. In the biblical context, although the Bible does not directly mention the poppy or opium, there are indirect references to the use of intoxicating substances. For example, Proverbs 31:6-7 advises giving strong drink to those who are perishing, possibly referring to opium preparations to alleviate suffering. Another example is the offering of vinegar mixed with myrrh to Jesus during the crucifixion, Mark 15:23, which he refused, preferring to keep his mind clear. Besides medicinal and religious uses, the poppy also had symbolic roles in many cultures. In ancient Greece, it was associated with Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, symbolizing fertility and rebirth. The Romans also used the poppy in various ceremonies and festivals, recognizing its sedative and hallucinogenic properties. In sum, the poppy plant and opium occupy a significant place in ancient history, demonstrating the intersection of medicine, religion, and commerce. Through archaeology and the analysis of ancient texts, we better understand how these substances were integrated into daily practices and rituals, influencing cultures and civilizations over time. The medicinal use of opium has a long and rich history, dating back thousands of years. Derived from the sap of the poppy capsules, Papaver somniferum, opium was widely recognized for its analgesic and sedative properties. In antiquity, civilizations such as the Sumerians, Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans used opium to treat various medical conditions. In ancient Mesopotamia, opium was known as the plant of joy and was prescribed to relieve pain and induce sleep. The Egyptians also valued opium for its medicinal properties. Egyptian medical papyri, dating from 1550 BCE, contain detailed recipes for the use of opium in treating pain, insomnia, and respiratory diseases. The Greeks and Romans, influenced by Egyptian medical practices, continued to use opium extensively. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, recognized opium for its pain-relieving and sleep-inducing capabilities. Galen, a prominent Roman physician, also prescribed opium for various conditions, including headaches, respiratory problems, and gastrointestinal diseases. In the biblical context, although the Bible does not directly mention the use of opium, there are hints of similar practices. A significant example is the offer of vinegar mixed with myrrh to Jesus during the crucifixion, described in Mark 15:23. Myrrh, a resin with analgesic properties, was often mixed with other substances to create a potent painkiller. Jesus, however, refused this mixture, choosing to keep his mind clear until the end. During the Middle Ages, knowledge about the medicinal use of opium was preserved and expanded by Arab physicians, such as Avicenna, who documented its effects and applications in his famous book, The Canon of Medicine. Opium continued to be an essential component in medical treatments through the centuries, eventually being introduced to Europe during the Renaissance. In addition to its use as a painkiller, opium was often used for sedation during surgeries. In times when modern anesthesia did not exist, opium was one of the few effective substances for reducing pain and suffering during surgical procedures. Its ability to induce a state of drowsiness and calm was vital for the success of such operations. In summary, opium has been a crucial medicinal tool since antiquity, used to treat a wide range of conditions. Its rich and multifaceted history reflects humanity's continuous quest for relief from pain and suffering. Through the ages, from Egyptian papyri to Arab manuscripts and biblical texts, the legacy of opium in medicine continues to be recognized and studied. Biblical warnings against the use of intoxicating substances are clear and reiterated in various passages, highlighting the importance of mental clarity for worship and spiritual understanding. While the Bible does not mention drugs as we know them today, references to practices involving intoxication are addressed with seriousness and concern. In Jeremiah 8:14 and 9:15, God warns about the consumption of bitter waters, which many scholars believe to be metaphors for hallucinogenic or intoxicating substances. These bitter waters are associated with divine punishment and moral and spiritual degradation. God declares, "Why do we sit still? Gather together, let us go into the fortified cities and perish there. For the Lord our God has doomed us to perish and has given us poisoned water to drink, because we have sinned against the Lord." Jeremiah 8:14. The reference to poisoned water suggests a bitter and potentially intoxicating substance, symbolizing a departure from God and consequent punishment. Deuteronomy 29:18 also warns against practices of drunkenness and intoxication. Make sure there is no man or woman, clan or tribe among you today whose heart turns away from the Lord our God, to go and worship the gods of those nations. Make sure there is no root among you that produces such bitter poison. Here, the root that produces such bitter poison can be interpreted as practices leading to intoxication and thus a departure from God. Isaiah 28:7 reinforces the importance of sobriety, criticizing religious leaders who indulge in wine and strong drink. And these also stagger from wine and reel from beer. Priests and prophets stagger from beer and are befuddled with wine. They reel from beer. They stagger when seeing visions. They stumble when rendering decisions. This passage highlights how intoxication can lead to loss of discernment and failure to fulfill spiritual and moral duties. In addition to these passages, the New Testament also addresses the issue of sobriety. In 1 Peter 5:8, we are advised to be sober and vigilant. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Sobriety is presented as essential for resisting temptation and maintaining faith. Biblical warnings against the use of intoxicating substances underline the importance of mental clarity and sobriety for true worship and spiritual life. By emphasizing lucidity, the Bible not only condemns intoxication, but also promotes a state of spiritual alertness, crucial for a deep and genuine connection with God. The discovery of cultural artifacts in archaeological excavations provides a fascinating insight into the use of hallucinogenic and intoxicating substances in ancient societies. Among the most revealing artifacts are poppy-shaped vessels and clothing pins, which show the integration of these substances into daily life and religious practices of various cultures. Poppy-shaped vessels, found at archaeological sites in the Mediterranean and the Near East, are particularly significant. These vessels, often decorated with detailed images of the poppy plant, were used to store and transport opium. The specific shape of these containers not only facilitated storage, but also clearly indicated their purpose, highlighting the importance of opium in trade and religious rituals. In ancient Greece, poppy-shaped vessels were often found in funerary contexts, suggesting that opium might have been used in rituals of passage and mourning. The Greeks associated the poppy with Hypnos, the god of sleep, and Thanatos, the god of death, reflecting the plant's role in both inducing sleep and preparing for the afterlife. Clothing pins in the shape of poppies discovered in excavations in the Near East also offer valuable insights. These pins, used as personal ornaments, indicate cultural reverence for the poppy plant. The presence of these pins in tombs and places of worship suggests that the poppy was not just a commodity but also a symbol of status and spirituality. In ancient Mesopotamia, other artifacts, such as clay tablets and figurines, depict scenes of poppy cultivation and preparation, highlighting the agricultural and economic importance of the plant. Mesopotamian iconography often shows gods and human figures interacting with the poppy, suggesting a central role in their religious practices. The use of hallucinogenic substances, such as cannabis, is also evidenced by archaeological finds in places like Tel Arad. The discovered altars containing cannabis residues reveal worship practices that incorporated elements of religious syncretism, combining Jewish and Canaanite traditions. These finds suggest that psychoactive substances were used to induce altered states of consciousness during religious rituals. The analysis of these artifacts reveals the depth and complexity of drug use in antiquity, showing how these substances were integrated into various spheres of life, from trade and agriculture to religion and spirituality. This integration reflects a sophisticated understanding of the effects and uses of these substances, as well as a cultural acceptance that contrasted with the biblical warnings against intoxication. The importance of mental sobriety is a recurring theme in the Bible, reflecting the emphasis that the Judeo-Christian faith places on mental clarity and spiritual lucidity. Unlike many ancient pagan practices, where drunkenness and intoxication were common in religious rituals, the biblical tradition values sobriety as essential for genuine worship and spiritual integrity. Sobriety is considered crucial for communion with God. In 1 Peter 5:8, followers are exhorted, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." This passage underscores the need to be mentally alert and spiritually vigilant to resist temptation and maintain faith. Mental clarity is seen as a defense against negative influences and a means to strengthen the relationship with God. The New Testament reinforces this message in various other passages. In 1 Thessalonians 5:6-8, Paul exhorts Christians to remain sober and vigilant. "Therefore let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. For those who sleep, sleep at night, and those who get drunk are drunk at night. But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and as a helmet the hope of salvation." Here, sobriety is associated with spiritual preparation and readiness for salvation. In the Old Testament, sobriety is equally emphasized. Proverbs 21 states, "Wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whoever is deceived thereby is not wise." This warning against the dangers of intoxication reflects the view that sobriety is fundamental to wisdom and discernment. The biblical narrative also offers examples of figures who chose sobriety as part of their devotion to God. For instance, Nazarites like Samson and John the Baptist took vows of abstinence from wine and strong drink as part of their consecration to God. Numbers 6:1-4, Luke 1:15. These choices highlight sobriety as a sign of dedication and spiritual purity. In addition to warnings against intoxication, the Bible promotes a life of moderation and self-control. In Galatians 5:22-23, Paul describes the fruit of the Spirit, which includes temperance, self-control, as an essential virtue for believers. This focus on temperance complements the emphasis on sobriety, encouraging followers to live balanced and disciplined lives. In sum, the Bible presents mental sobriety as a vital quality for a healthy spiritual life and true worship. Mental clarity is seen as a way to protect against sin, cultivate a deeper relationship with God, and maintain spiritual integrity. By valuing sobriety, the biblical tradition contrasts sharply with many ancient religious practices, highlighting the uniqueness and purity of the Judeo-Christian faith. The analysis of drugs in the Bible, based on archaeological discoveries and sacred texts, offers a fascinating view of how psychoactive substances were perceived and used in the past. While some ancient cultures incorporated these substances into their rituals, the Bible presents a clear distinction between these practices and the principles of the Judeo-Christian faith, which values sobriety and mental clarity as essential for true worship. We would love to hear your opinion on this intriguing topic. Please share your comments and reflections below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more content exploring biblical and historical themes. Your participation is very important to us.